Hello, my name is Elizabeth Vega, and I will be talking about the fantasy genre. I picked out some books that we can use for this book talk to go over some examples that we can find on fantasy. And I just want to start off by saying that I think that fantasy books are like windows to cool and difficult magical worlds. They're like a way that we can escape from reality and from our normal plain lives, and that we can imagine what life could be like if we had magic powers, or there's weird mystical creatures, or if our world was falling apart or becoming something great in general. You know what I mean? And so when reading a fantasy book, it's easy to want to put ourselves in those worlds and to imagine what it would be like to do these impossible things that you wouldn't have ever thought of doing. You know what I mean? And the first book that we'll be talking about today will be Artemis Fowl, and it was written by Ian Coffer. And in this book, it has fairies, pixies, and dwarves, and they're real. And they're not like normal fairy tales, if you know what I mean, like princesses and stuff. And in this book, instead they use advanced technology with their magic, and they hide beneath the earth. And they're secret from humans, if that makes sense. Like, they're hiding from humans because this is all done underground, right? And the main character, Artemis, he's a super intelligent 12-year-old boy and also a criminal millionaire. With the help of his loyal and super buff butler, he discovers the existence of fairies and kidnaps the elf, Captain Holly, is who he kidnaps. And he holds her for hostage for ransom. And in this hostage situation that's going on in the book, it becomes the main plot in the book. And I'll read a certain piece from this book that really got my attention when I was reading it. It's on page 55, and it goes, "A wine bottle crashed to the floor. It broke the spell. The panorama started. Holly winced. Trolls hated noise almost as much as light. The troll lifted massive, shaggy shoulders, its retractable claws sliding out with ominous shit. Classic predator behavior. The beast was about to strike. Holly drew her weapon, flickered it up to the second setting. She couldn't kill the troll under any circumstances. Not to save humans, but she could certainly put him out of retrieval arrive." So as you can see, there's weird creatures going on in the book, and they were just about to hurt someone. Okay. And that's it for the first book. Okay, for my second fantasy book, I will be talking about The Giver by Lois Lowry, one of my absolutely favorite books from middle school. And so in this book, it's about this future society where everyone is given predetermined roles and assignments to do in the society. And this is certain society, no one disobeys or asks questions. There's no conflict, there's no inequality at all, and there's no choice. Okay. And the main character in this book is a 12-year-old boy named Jonas. Just like every other 12-year-old, he is being given an assignment to do. And his assignment is to be the receiver of memory. So as the receiver of memory, he magically gets memories transmitted to him by an elderly man in the society. And so I will read you something from page 100, which caught my attention. And so it says, "Jonas remembered that he was allowed, that he had even been encouraged to ask questions. 'What are you going to do, sir?' he asked, hoping that his voice didn't betray his nervousness. 'I am going to transmit the memory of snow,' the old man said, and placed his hands on Jonas's bare back. Jonas felt nothing. Unusual at first, he felt only the light touch of the old man's hands. on his back. He tried to relax, to breathe evenly. The room was absolutely silent, and for a moment Jonas feared that he might disgrace himself now, on the first day of his training, by falling asleep. Then he shivered. He realized that the touch of the hands felt suddenly cold. At the same instant, breathing in, and he felt the air change. His very breath was cold. He licked his lips. In doing so, his tongue touched the suddenly chilled air. So as you can see here, he's receiving the memory of snow, which I think is very interesting because, like, to think that this is happening, like, it's very magical. So that's why I would consider it a fantasy book. Okay, for now, for the third book that we're going to be talking about in the series, we will be talking about this book that took place around the time of ancient Greece, and we will study the philosophies and the agriculture. And we're going to be reading about this specific book that comes from a series. It's the Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Last Olympian, by Rick Rodrin, as you can see here. And what this book is basically about is the son of a gods, one of the sons from different gods. He is sent to a camp along with other kids to basically learn how to fight and to train. They're learning how to train and fight different monsters, right? And so, as you can see, it's all about, like, mystical creatures that you wouldn't see in the real world nowadays, right? And something that caught my attention in the book that I kind of want to read to you is on page 172. Okay, so I'm going to read from the book right now. And she slapped her silver bracelet, and the shields spiral into full form. The golden head of Medusa molded in the center was so horrible. The campers all backed away. The hunters took off down the avenue, followed by their wolves and falcons. I had a feeling that Lincoln Tunnel will be safe for now. Thank the gods, Annabelle said. But if we don't block the rivers from those boats, guarding the bridges and tunnels will be pointless. You're right, I said. I looked at the campers, all of them grim and determined. I tried not to feel like this was the last time I ever see them all together. You're the greatest heroes of this millennium, I told them. It doesn't matter how many monsters come at you. Fight bravely and we will win. I raised Riptide and shouted for Olympus. So as you can see, they are getting basically to end the final battle, and they're having to deal with other different creatures as there. So this is all I would consider a fantasy book. Another great fantasy book that I really love the series that it comes from the Hunger Games series, and it's the second book, is The Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Not sure if you ever read about it, but basically what this book is about is in this country there's 12 districts, and in the 12 districts, one boy and one girl are competing in survival mode, basically, to try see who survives, and basically they're killing each other. And they're trying to see who's obviously the best. So then, basically, the moral of the story, whoever kills the most survives is who's gonna win. But then in the story, we find out that mostly everyone dies. And so, something interesting in the book that it was one of my favorite parts that I'm gonna read to you. It is on page 308, and I'll start reading. I've never seen any animal move so fast. They slide down the vines as if things were greased, leap impossible distances from tree to tree, fangs bared, hackles rise, claws shooting up like switchblades. I may be unfair with the monkeys, but animals in nature don't act like this. Mutts. I spit out as Finnick and I crash into the greenery. So as you can see, basically, they're in survival mode, and they have different creatures that pop up in the story. Another thing that I would like to add about this Hunger Games book, The Catching Fire, is that it has a lot of advanced technology and genetic modified animals in the book when you're reading. It kind of gives you like a sci-fi feel, but I would consider it a fantasy book. I know that you can get confused in between both of them. And for my last book in the fantasy book series that I'll be using is a classical, the Harry Potter. I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of Harry Potter books. And in this Harry Potter, it is called Harry Potter and the Prisoner Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. And in this specific book, what is going on is Harry Potter lives in a world of wizards, correct? And he goes to a secret school of magic to learn how to become a wizard. In this book, the prisoner that was mentioned in the title, the prisoner has escaped. And this prisoner has been known to kill Harry Potter's parents and also has killed a crowd of people. And so Harry Potter is scared that that prisoner might be coming back to him. So it obviously writes about the experiences that go on as he's fearing for his life. And something that caught my attention when I was reading this book would have to be on page 137, and I'll read you a piece of it because I was like, oh my god, I was at the edge of my seat. Okay, so for this page I'm going to read. And it goes, a jet of sparks shoot from the end of Professor Lupin's wand and hit the doorknob. The wardrobe burst open, hook-nosed, and mid-ace mancing. Professor Snap stepped out, his eyes flashing at Neville. Neville backed away, his wand up, bellowing wordlessly. Snap would bearing down upon him, reaching inside his robe. Ridiculous, squeaked Neville. There was a noise like a whip crack. Snap stumbled. He was wearing a long trace dress, towering hat topped with a mouth-eaten vulture, and he was swinging in a huge crimson handbag. There was a roar of laughter, and the monks were pausing confused. So, as you can see, it's describing his wardrobe. So, since he's a wizard, he has a big pointed hat and a long robe, and he has his little wand, and he's like mouth released, obviously casting spells. So yeah, I find that interesting. I hope after hearing me talk about all these fantasy books that you can take pleasure into reading one of them and just escaping reality and just going into a different role, you know what I mean? They're awesome, especially if you want to get your mind off of anything. These books are the type to entertain your mind going on and on. So yeah, I hope that you can check out one of these books, and I hope you paid attention, and I hope that you found it interesting. Okay, thank you.